Peace. Islam. Sheekamauga Alamassee-El. Coming at y'all live. Deep down. Alamassee Arabian country. Chilling in Moor's Bluff. If you don't know the location of Moor's Bluff, due to knowledge, holler at me. I hook you up with a map. But you gotta know your location and know your culture. I'm standing in front of the historic Mishkan temple, Mishkan, Israel. And this is kind of a testament to the fact that the Old Testament culture has always been here. This is old culture. This again, we get to colonize history in these books. Again, after you really want to do the history, the breakdown of the original cultures of this land. It really, it's been a long process. It really goes back to 1492. But as far as mainland, Morocco, Moroccan Empire, mainland North America, the outright real direct warfare, physical, conventional warfare against the original cultures began with the Civil War of 1812. You know what I'm saying? And all the way, and that's a 40, 50 year period between the Civil War of 1812 and 1865. So the main thing was, and a big reason why they wanted to outlaw these old cultures that we practice is because, and these old cultures and religions, they teach us to fight. They teach us not to tolerate. They teach us not to tolerate certain things. You know what I mean? So our people we wasn't with it. You know, you couldn't come and practice your corporate industrialist, just usury, engaging in usury and doing all type of immoral practices in business. You couldn't come around us with that in the old cultures. It was all through the Mississippian territory. You just couldn't do it. So they had to go to war with those cultures. You know what I mean? So that's essentially because it's all about business. It's all about money. It's all about economics. At the end of the day, all the religion, everything, it's about your spiritual connection first. If you have the capacity to deal directly with the Most High, and you know what I mean, and it's kind of in your blood and your soul, and you haven't allowed yourself to become a vessel of lower level entities that can make you a vessel for the agenda, whatever agenda these lower level entities want to accomplish on this plane. If you have that capability, then it's all about your being able to take direct orders or have a direct connection to the prime creator, which is your higher self. So it's always been that way. But when you establish a culture that's based on that, that's always going to be in a conflict with those who want to deal with more of a corporate business minded culture. So that's kind of and at the end of the day, that's a more demonic culture. You know what I'm saying? Because everything is just for profit. Everything is for gain. There's nothing sacred. There's nothing holy in these type of corporate cultures. You know what I'm saying? They may call them federal cultures, whatever. You know what I mean? And we're not saying right or wrong. We're just saying these cultures are going to be in conflict. So we know our old culture was highly religious, and it was monotheistic. It was not pagan, and it was not corporate. It is what it is. We were still prosperous in business, but we were prosperous because when you're in line with the Most High, when you're in line with Allah, and you take direct guidance, you're gonna be protected, and you're gonna be prosperous. You're gonna prosper in this plane. That just is what it is. But you're gonna prosper under your own vine and fig tree. You're not gonna prosper. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna prosper taking orders from no man when you're under your own vine and fig tree. So guess what? When you got so many people that's under their own vine and fig tree, and they're able to prosper without taking orders from some man, and this man is taking orders from Shaitan, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be in the way if you want to accomplish some type of tyranny or some type of industrial, some type of corporate agenda on the plane. You know what I'm saying? So that's essentially these cultures, these Old Testament, these Muslim cultures, they had to go. But in the old America, like right now, in mainland North America, the main uniting, you've always had different cultures and ethnic groups here in America. Different demonstrations. It might have been tribal back in the day or whatever, but these people were under different designations, or maybe spiritual, religious demonstrations. But the main uniting demonstration was the Barbary demonstration, was the Muslim demonstration, or Moabite demonstration. That's just what it was. And you can you can just look at old paintings of the indigenous people and see their demonstration, and you can tell. it don't. The proof is already there. You know what I'm saying? You can tell how these people dress. They dress the Sufi style. They wrapped their heads. They wore turbans. They wore feathers. It was a Sufi Muslim culture. But that's because, okay, say you were part of a certain tribe, and the tribe just represents an old state or an old district. Because these people, again, they dissolved the old governments that we had. So we always had districts, states, whatever they want to describe them in the corporate English, you know what I mean? But we've always had districts, zones, principalities, municipalities. They were just unincorporated. They weren't corporate, you know what I'm saying? They were more spiritual. So when they broke those things down, well, okay, again, if you were in a certain zone in the main, it's kind of like, say, in gang territory, you may be with a certain set. That may be the Crip set or whatever. It's always been like that with us. And you might have had a blood set. In this case, the blood set will be the Muslim. The Crip will be the Yahudi. You know what I'm saying? That's what's carried down through the blood. You know what I'm saying? Or five peoples and folk, whatever. That's always carried down through the blood, so that's still the same setup. So you might have been under a demonstration that was dealing more so with the Sikhs, which is, you know what I mean, the Zionists, the Moorish Zionists, the Yahudi. You know what I mean? You still had since the main uniting government was Barbary, but we were the same people. It was just more political, but we were the same people. We had a military alliance with each other against all outsiders, against all pagans, against anybody who was trying to bring that demonic nonsense around us. We just wasn't with it. You know what I'm saying? And we held it down for a long time. We just couldn't be touched. You know what I'm saying? Because we were together. So, but you still had to send just like you may live in a district now where you have to elect a representative to go to Congress. You would have had to elect a Barbary, somebody who understood the Barbary demonstration, or a Moor from your demonstration, or a Sheik from your demonstration, to go politic in the main Congress, which was the Barbary Congress. Might have been the Iroquois Six Nation. You know what I'm saying? That was a Barbary demonstration. You know, it might have been the Illinois Confederacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might have been the Mekasuki, but everybody had to send their delegates to a Barbary Muslim demonstration because that was the uniting force, and that was the most powerful demonstration mainly across the world in those days, and even all the way up to damn near the 1900s, but really mainly 1812 and the Barbary Wars was when they kind of, that demonstration kind of started losing its steam. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, the Old Testament culture, that's always been here. Yahudi, always been here. Didn't come with no colonization. Didn't come with no settlers. This is Old Testament culture. And again, we're going to do a drop about the Southern Arabian culture. But you can just look at pictures of the brothers and sisters back in the antebellum South, and even right after even right in the Reconstruction era. And you can see a lot of the sisters and everything, and the brothers, they wore their long garbs. The sisters wore long dresses. They had their heads wrapped. They wore turbans. Now, in the current propaganda, we've always discussed this, but in Hollywood propaganda and academics, they always wanted to, if they find pictures and photos and stuff of people like this, they're always going to say this was the slave culture. You know what I'm saying? These people were slaves. But it's funny, the people who are sitting up here talking about these people were slaves. In the old Confederate South, they weren't even allowed, they had no rights in the old Confederate South. So how the hell would they know? They're settlers. How you gonna let a settler gonna tell you somebody was a slave in the South when they weren't even in the South like that? They weren't allowed in the South because we were the bosses in the old antebellum South. So these people couldn't even go, these people could barely travel around. That's why they had to run, that's why Andrew Jackson and them had to run down here, you know what I'm saying, over and over again. Because we wouldn't let these people do what they wanted to do. We wouldn't let them move. We wouldn't let them move around. They had no power. They had no power in the old South. That's why they had to bring all the immigrants after, you know what I'm saying, during Reconstruction, millions of immigrants, they had to bring them and flood them down. You know what I'm saying? Because they wasn't here like that before that. They had no sway. So how they gonna tell you was a slave in the South when your people was rocking, your people was dominant? You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. But anyway, I want to read this little inscription. It kind of just, you kind of have to read between the lines, but it kind of gives you, if you know how to read between the lines, you know how to understand what they're really trying to tell you. You can come to your own logical conclusions. So it says, check it out. A historic marker. And y'all got, when y'all are traveling around, y'all got to stop and look at these historic markers. This has a lot of your history on these things. That's why you see a lot, they tear a lot of this stuff down. They want a lot of this stuff to go. And now it's funny because they call a lot of this stuff racist now, but they know that we starting to do the knowledge, and we're starting to pick up on the hints, and we're starting to get our culture back. So now they want to call a lot of this stuff racist. You know what I'm saying? And white supremacy and all that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? This is your culture. I wouldn't be surprised if now, since since our phenotype, the Mississippians are starting to pick their culture back up, they'll start calling us white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous, man. But it's anything to get away from this real culture, because this real culture is the only thing that can just destroy the nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But check it out. So, I'm gonna read the inscription. The earliest Jewish settlers came to Selma prior to the Civil War, some as early as the 1830s. Some so-called Jewish settlers came as early as the 1830s, okay? A group of Jewish citizens assembled as the Mishkan Israel congregation and began meeting in private homes in 1867. The congregation was formally organized on July 10th, 1870. In June of 1899, ground was broken for the temple, and the building was completed on December 20th, 1899. Members of the Mishkan Israel's congregation were vital to early economic growth of the city. Many of the stores and businesses that line the streets of downtown Selma were once owned and operated by members of the Jewish community. Now don't get it messed up. Again, it just said some so-called Jewish settlers came as early as the 1830s. Now again, we know that this territory was still under the control of the Mekasuki in the 1830s, all the way up to 1836, 1837. So who are these so-called Jews that they're talking about coming down here? Now, even if they were foreigners, these people wouldn't be able to just come down to the South if it wasn't already that type of culture here that they could integrate with. Nobody's just going to let these people come in if it's still Creek territory. You know what I'm saying? So that means the Yahudi demonstration was already here. It's always been here. Again, it said that the Jewish settlers came as early as the 1830s, and they don't know because they weren't here. You know what I'm saying? These people are just they're doing history and they're guesstimating because they weren't allowed down south, man. These people was not allowed down south. It was 1840. It was in the 1840s, 1830s before they could even think about traveling freely through the South, man. So how are they gonna tell anybody that they were a slave or anything? They don't know. Stop letting these people tell you about your culture. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? And then I want y'all to do the knowledge. For all the Israelites who want to, if any Israelites out there that we want to talk down on the Moors or whatever, do the knowledge to the Moorish Zionist temple that was created. They say this temple was set up in 1899. Do the knowledge to the Moorish Zionist temple that was set up in Harlem in 1899, same year. The Moorish Zionist temple. So y'all got smoke for Moors. But why were the Israelites, the original so-called Israelites, again, this is an old American culture. The brothers and sisters that was going north, they was just carrying their culture with them. And the Caribbean people that was coming in, they was just carrying their culture with them. You know what I'm saying? So they set up the Moorish Zionist temple. Why were they calling it the Moorish Zionist temple? Because it's the 5 and the 6. It's the same culture. That culture always been in the South. It's always been down here. It's the 5 and the 6. That's our culture. Again, America was not dealing with the New Testament. That's what the settlers, that's what the United States, that's what they were pushing. So, you got something down here called the Edmondite missions. Y'all can do the knowledge on the Edmondite missions that came down here, okay? These were Catholic missions that came down because, again, these places are economically devastated because we lost the Civil War. We lost, the Confederacy lost the war. So we took a lot of L's. Our people took a lot of L's, and they were in poverty because they were economically mostly blacklisted. A lot of us still had things, so we could still have our little Chitlin Circuit type of economy, which was still thriving. But a lot of people, fell off because we wasn't controlled. A lot of stuff had to go under supervision of agents, of foreign agents and stuff like that. So we did lose a lot of stuff. So now we got something called the Edmondite missions. These Catholics, and you already know the Moors have never liked the Moors and the Catholics and the Romans have never gotten along, man. You know what I'm saying? It probably never will. It is what it is. Because you can't be, their culture's way more pagan. You know what I'm saying? Not saying right or wrong, but we just don't get along. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting that they will be sending, like the South, the antebellum South was never friendly. It was never friendly to Catholics. It never was, because we knew what it was. Ever since we was fighting with the Spanish, when they tried to come up here with the nonsense, and Tuscaloosa and the Sheekamauga had to put them things on them Catholics trying to come up here with that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting that they will have the Edmondite missions, and the Catholics will be coming down here trying to so-called lift Negroes up out of poverty. And it started in the 30s. And then culminated they were real heavy supporting the civil rights demonstration. And we all know that the demonstration on the civil rights, you know what I'm saying, it was more communists trying to push communism into the community. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? And that was even more economically devastating, because our people are not naturally communists. We're just not, man. We free trade, free mercantile people, man. We get that money. You know what I'm saying? And dealing with more of a Marxist demonstration, you're more using the government as an intermediary, man. In a Confederate style demonstration, every man is supposed to be responsible for himself, because we believe men can conduct themselves through God. That's Moorish culture. That's the 5 to 6, the Old Testament. You know what I mean? Allah, the Most High, rules the kingdom. So, just doing the knowledge, man. Temple, Mishkan, Temple, Israel. Anytime you see these temples and cathedrals, these old cathedrals, they were dealing with more of that Old Testament type of culture, and a lot of them got converted, to the whole thing after the war and all that. But these old temples, old cathedrals, old mosques, all over America, you know what I mean? A lot of them got converted to churches, but the old mosques, old temples, and old cathedrals, they still here. And you're gonna always be, these people are gonna always be sending fake missionaries, fake clowns, and fake goofballs who wanna pretend to help you, but they're gonna continue to drain you, and they're trying to get rid of you as long as you're not dealing with your real culture. You know what I'm saying? This is your real culture. That's the only thing missing. If you don't get back in your demonstration, you're gonna always be taken advantage of by these fake missionaries, fake politicians, fake clowns, everybody that wanna prey on you, everybody that wanna drain you for what Allah gave you. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's tapping in, that's peace. I'll holler back at y'all later.